Imagine waking up to a coffee that hasn't been picked yet. Now let's dive into the story of a barista who claims he can make that possible, a time-traveling barista. This barista, with his enigmatic smile, brews a cup of coffee that sends your taste buds a day ahead. One sip, and you're tasting the future, literally. This is not your regular Monday morning espresso, it's a caffeinated leap into Tuesday. You see, every sip of this coffee gives you a glimpse of what's to come. It's like having a psychic reading. But instead of tarot cards, you're dealing with Arabica beans. It's Monday, yet your body is already experiencing the energy crash that comes with Tuesday's workload. It's as if you're living in two different time zones at once, and your coffee is the bridge between them. But here's the catch. You're now stuck in a caffeine loop. You're waking up before your alarm rings, your body anticipating the jolt of a coffee that's still on the tree, a day away from being picked. When asked about his secret, the barista just winks and says, "It's all in the beans, they're from next week." So, here you are, living a day ahead, caught in this paradoxical cycle, all thanks to a barista who's turned time into an ingredient. And so I find myself ready for a coffee that hasn't even been picked yet. Ever tried a diet where you're both eating and not eating at the same time? Welcome to the quantum uncertainty diet, a revolutionary approach to weight loss that'll leave your head spinning faster than a centrifuge. Imagine standing before your fridge, the cool light illuminating a tantalizing array of foods. But here's the catch, you never actually open the door. By not making a choice, you're caught in a culinary superposition, both starving and satiated at the same time. It's like Schrodinger's cat, but with lettuce and leftover lasagna. This diet is a paradox, a riddle wrapped in an enigma, tucked inside a whole grain tortilla. You might lose 10 pounds or you might gain them back, or, if the quantum world has its way, you might do both simultaneously. It's a dietary dilemma that has me questioning the very nature of carrots and contemplating a cookbook that's equal parts recipes and philosophy. I'm not sure if my cookbook will be filled with recipes or philosophical questions about the nature of carrots. Have you ever wished you could call past versions of yourself? Imagine having a smartphone that opens up a line to the you of yesteryears. It's a philosopher's phone, a device that lets you pick up and dial back to your past selves. Sounds like a dream, right? Or maybe a nightmare, depending on what kind of person you were in the past. This phone, you see, does more than just let you reminisce about the good old days. It's a tool for settling disputes and arguments. You know those moments when you're absolutely certain you said something but everyone else insists you didn't? Well, with the philosopher's phone you can put an end to those debates. Did I say that? Yes, you did, and here's the call to prove it. Now, the philosopher's phone isn't without its quirks. For one, it turns out that past you is quite the chatterbox. He's always ready with a piece of advice or a nugget of wisdom. Invest in stocks, he says, from a time when the market was booming. It's like having your own personal fortune teller, except he's only good for telling you things you've already done. But as helpful as it is to have a hotline to your past self, there are times when you wish you could just hang up. Thanks, past me, but could you warn me about bad haircuts instead? What do you do when your pet rock starts questioning its purpose? Now that's a question I never thought I'd ask myself, but there I was, trying to console my pet rock as it faced an existential crisis. It began when it overheard a conversation I was having where I casually mentioned the phrase, taking things for granted. This simple turn of phrase sparked a profound introspection in my little sedimentary friend. Suddenly it was asking, am I just a doorstop, a mere paperweight? In an attempt to lighten the mood, I told it, you're sedimentary, my dear Watson. Unfortunately, my attempt at rock humor fell flat. In the throes of its crisis, my pet rock decided it needed to find itself and expressed a desire to go backpacking across Europe. And that, my friends, brought me to a whole new conundrum. How do you tell a rock it doesn't have legs? Ever thought of gardening as low-key time travel? A wild concept, isn't it? But let's ponder it a while. Every time you plant a seed, you're essentially sending a tree, a flower, or a vegetable into the future. It's a ticket to tomorrow, buried in the soil of today. Now imagine my neighbor, a humble gardener with a newfound passion for time travel. He takes this idea to heart, each seed a promise of a future harvest. He becomes a time-traveling botanist, his garden a field of potential futures waiting to sprout. His carrots in particular receive a lot of attention. He's out there, whispering to them, gently guiding their growth. Grow straight, he tells them, as if imparting life wisdom. He sees the twists and turns of his own life reflected in their tender shoots. His gardening becomes a mission, a chance to correct the course of future vegetation. But here's the catch. Carrots, as far as we know, don't take life advice. They haven't mastered the art of regret or reflection. They simply grow, bending towards the light, reaching for the sky, oblivious to the gardener's hopes and dreams. Yet, the gardener continues his whispered conversations, hopeful of influencing the future through his leafy charges. It's a quirky, yet endearing sight. And who am I to break his bubble? After all, I haven't the heart to tell him his vegetables aren't big on life advice. What if you could run your way into the future? Imagine, if you will, a jogger in my neighborhood who makes just this claim. He insists that if he hits the right stride, he can see tomorrow's weather. It's a whimsical thought, isn't it? Now, I have to admit, he's quite the speedster. His pace is so swift, he's always a day ahead of his laundry. The paradox here is as interesting as it is comical. It's like he's running so fast he's leaving his clean clothes in yesterday. His determination is admirable, if not a little eccentric. The other day I saw him sprinting with an umbrella. Not because it was raining, mind you. No, he was just determined to outpace the forecast. He panted, "Can't stop now, I might miss the rain." It's quite a sight, I assure you. You might wonder if he's onto something. Could he really be running so fast he's slipping into tomorrow? The science is questionable, but the story is delightful. It's a testament to the human spirit and our boundless imagination. A tale of a man who, quite literally, is trying to outrun time. I'm considering asking him for lottery numbers, or at least, if I'll need a coat tomorrow. Ever had a cookie that exists in two places at once? Imagine biting into a cookie so divine, so transcendent, that it defies the very laws of physics. This is the story of a baker who has mastered the art of quantum confectionery. Her cookies, she claims, are so delectable, so irresistible that they exist in two states simultaneously. When you take a bite, you find yourself trapped in a delicious paradox. You're unsure if you're still hungry or if you're already satiated. It's a conundrum that leaves you reaching for another, and another, until you've devoured a dozen, and you're both on a diet and off it at the same time. But here's the kicker. She hands you a box of her quantum cookies to take home. She warns, though, that if you open the box you might find that they've eaten themselves. Schrodinger's cookies. Now there's a thought for dessert. Did you know that every book in a library is a door to another dimension? That's what my local librarian insists. And who am I to argue when I've been debating philosophical concepts with Aristotle and swapping cooking tips with Julia Child, all from the comfort of my reading nook. Each time I crack open a book, I'm stepping into a new realm, a labyrinth of ideas and experiences that transcend the limits of my humble existence. It's a fascinating journey, but it comes with a catch. You see, in this literary universe, late fees are time relative. Return a book late and you might just find yourself owing 3 centuries worth of overdue charges. But don't panic just yet. The librarian, ever the enigma, offers an alternative. Attend a single book club meeting with Tolstoy. Now there's a proposition. Now I owe 3 centuries of overdue charges, or I just attend one book club meeting with Tolstoy? Decisions, decisions.